when it really comes down to getting views, there's three things that you can solve for. If you just change one of those three things, you dial up the views, and when you dial up views, you dial up income. It all comes down to your thumbnail and your title. You never want to make a video without having proof that it already works on the platform.
All right, let's set the tone for today's episode of Real Estate vs. Technology Unleashed. This episode is going to be an hour long. We're going to go up to Canada and we're going to do a little deep dive into YouTube strategies, an individual who's actually doing some things differently with YouTube, who is in the mortgage industry. And so he's really done a great job with kind of not really reverse engineering, but I guess you could say reverse engineering, seeing what individuals are doing like Graham Stephan and doing a really good job of seeing what's happening in the US market and saying like, how can I potentially be able to, not reinvent the wheel and have success with that process. So I'm really excited for today's episode. Thank you, Liftoff Agent, for sponsoring our show. If you haven't already done so and you want to be tuned in, subscribe, hit that notification bell as we bring you episodes every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Today, we have Nolan on the show. Welcome to Real Estate vs. Technology, Thrive and Give. I like that, man. And I got to say, it was funny when we first got started this conversation before you're actually on the show. You're like, I'll be on the show, but there's a caveat. I'm like, okay. He's like, I want to go through your Instagram or your YouTube channel, and I want to help you with one of your episodes. And then we got to talking a little bit, and individuals don't know this, but we're, outsourcing Philippines, individuals helping us with a lot of our process here. We'll share that here later on. If you're going to stay for a while and listen to this show, you're going to see Nolan dive into our YouTube channel, give us some feedback that can then help you out there. But man, welcome to the show. I appreciate your time. I know you've been back to back. How's your day going, man?
Amazing. Thanks for having me, Norman. I'm excited for this. I'm especially excited to show you a little bit on the YouTube channel and how you can get your audience back, because that's the big thing that people fight, especially when you go through what you went through. But yeah, I'm excited. I love what you're doing. I love that there's a no nonsense podcast out there for the real estate industry. And I think it's a shame that you aren't getting way more views, and we're gonna get you there.
Let's get into you, man. Let's get into Nolan's world. So, why mortgage? Why'd you get into the industry? And then what prompted you as you started to grow your business to get into this whole YouTube thing and starting to grow channels?
Oh man, that's one of my favorite stories. It centers around me telling a professor or swearing at a professor. Now he had sworn at me first, so it was warranted. But basically, for this, like I was taking economics and had an economics professor who was my favorite professor of all time. But one of his
Hmm.
things was he used every type of ability to be completely offside to get you to pay attention in the course, right down to
Hmm.
like naming people names. Like he'd sometimes mean nicknames for people. He'd swear, he'd throw stuff, but always had your attention. And this was right after 2001, after the dot-com bubble had burst. And I was sitting in his class one day, and I just kind of put my hand up and said, "Hey, like, what do you think is going to happen in the economy with all this stuff going on with the dot-com bubble?"
Yeah.
And, I'm sitting in an economics class, it's an advanced level class, and he's going, "What's gonna happen in the economy?" He's like, "Look out the effing window." And of course, he used the more colorful language, and, okay, and I kinda sat back in my chair, and I literally sat there for about 10 minutes, and then eventually I raised my hand, and anybody who's ever been in a university lecture theater knows that they all have one thing in common, it's a complete lack of windows. So I raised my hand and went, "What effing window?" And of course, it was okay for him to swear at me, but not for me to swear at him. So
Of
he
course.
just kicked me out of the class. So I did the tail between the legs thing, left the room with 400 eyeballs staring at me, and came back 2 days later. He walked in, he put his stuff down on the desk, and looked at me, and he went, "You came back?" I'm like, "Of course I did." He's like, "Get out, come see me after hours." So he kicks me out again, and I went to his office hours, and we had a chat, and he said, "Listen, like, that's all showmanship. I like you. You're a smart kid, but if you want to know what's going to happen in the economy, you got to become part of the economy." And he asked me what I was doing. And at the time, I was selling golf clubs. I was one of the, like at 20 years old, one of the top golf club sales people in Alberta, if not in Canada. And
Yeah.
he's like, "If you want to know what's going to happen in the economy, you need to go and get a job in finance. You need to be prepared for 2 years from now when it comes time for you to get a real job. And at the time, you could go
Huh.
and do one of two things really easily. TD Bank, which is one of the big five banks in Canada, and now is one of the big banks in the US as well, was
Mm,
sitting in the food hall every single day trying to recruit people that were about to get a degree to come and work as a bank teller. And they were doing that so that they could have lots of educated people that they could move up the ranks. And my mom had worked for Bank Montreal, one of the other big banks, for 47 years. I'd done the take your kid to work
wow.
day. I'd been a teller as like a 13-year-old. They weren't actually letting me handle the money, but I got to do like the job as like a cute bring your kid to work day thing. And I knew I would way rather put a campfire out with my face than ever be a teller in my life. So that wasn't really an option, but there was an option at the time. And I had a father who was in real estate, mom who was in banking. You could become a mortgage broker. It was like a 3-month course, but you could go and pick up the books and you could challenge the test if you wanted to. So I went to
Mm,
University in Calgary. I picked up the books on a Monday, and I knew how to do all the math because
yeah.
obviously I was in economics, so that's all easy. All I had to do was learn the legal stuff on the property side. Dad in real estate for like 25 years. That was easy because I'd been around it my whole life. 3
Yeah.
days later, wrote the test, passed, and was helping people make the biggest financial decision of their life, never
Wow.
having actually owned a home of my own. So, it all came down to, like, chance circumstance of telling a professor basically to F off that got me into the mortgage industry. I thought I'd be an investment banker, but 2 years after that, coming out of university, I was making probably triple what I would have as an entry level investment banker. And what I realized was
Wow.
really liked helping people. And when I was able to open up the things that people didn't know about getting a mortgage and communicate that to them, it helped them make better decisions, better financial decisions. And that really
Mm,
just became a passion.
wow. That's awesome. And good for you, man. I mean, you just gotta stick up for yourself sometimes. I feel like, to relate to what you said there, I used to sell cars for 3.5 years. And I remember that, in the dealership world, I know at least here in the States, I can imagine, this would probably be anywhere. But the new general manager was appointed to take this Nissan dealership and turn it around. And the first thing they do is like to basically clean up shop and get new hires, and just want to make sure people are on the same page, and they want to have a good company culture, right? Well, I had a hat trip. It was a holiday weekend, 3-day weekend. A hat trip is 3 cars, and if you sell 3, then you get an extra little bonus. And I had 3 appointments. I was really excited, and man, for some reason, me and this general manager just were like this, just headbutt. And and he probably, I liked him. He seemed like a good dude, but he just kept picking on me. So brought me into the office, and one thing led to another, and I don't know exactly what was said. And I just straight told him, and we're on Real Estate First Technology Unleashed. I'm just gonna drop the word. I just said, go fuck yourself. He said,
Mhm.
what? Yeah, I said, go fuck yourself. He's like, all right, you get out of here then. Bye. I'm like, okay. I never looked
Nice.
back again. That's when I got to work for myself, and that's what kicked off my career working for myself, because I was never seen as an asset. I was always told to keep my head down and do your job, and I just didn't appreciate that. I'm like, you know what? If no one's going to see me as the potential that I have in my mind for myself, then I'm going to show up myself and do what I got to do to show others that I'm a force to be reckoned with. And so I appreciate that, because that's something that came up for me as well. And so, how many years now in the mortgage side?
So that would have been 2003, 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm about 10 years in on my end on the real estate side, on more the marketing support side of things, and 3 years here on this podcast. But yeah, it's a never a dull moment in this industry, from the highs, the lows, and all the things. And you can see that on your YouTube channel. So everyone listening and viewing, go check out his channel.
Yeah.
And so what kicked off the thought process of, so let's do this YouTube channel thing? And were you more interested in, because I know a lot of mortgage professionals go out to the agents, and they network with the agents, they take them out, they build, and then they try to leverage their spear and like their past efforts, and so that way they can have deal flow from these agents. But I'm starting to see more and more individuals, I would believe like yourself, that are going out to the general public to add value, so you can bring in the leads, you have the control, and then you literally can pick and choose any agent you want to work with.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, lots of interesting things that we could unpack on that. But I mean, let's just call a spade on this. The power dynamic between realtors and mortgage lenders, mortgage brokers,
Mm,
loan officers,
yeah.
uh, it sucks, right? And
Yeah.
when you're a mortgage broker or a lender, if you're smart, you go to where the deals are, and quite often the deals are with the real estate agents. When you have somebody else who feels like they're in control of the process, it it eliminates your ability to control the actual mortgage process for the client, and that
Ah,
typically leads to a lot more problems. So a bad realtor, when it comes to how they're dealing with the mortgage broker, will actually create more problems for a client and for themselves than the ones that they think that they're trying to solve. Because when they're
I
like
can see that.
on the phone badgering a lender or badgering a mortgage broker, literally they're just making that mortgage broker, that lender not like them. And then when they're turning to the client going, I didn't pick this guy for you, I don't like him, or they're saying, oh no, you can do this, and they have no idea what they're talking about. They haven't seen the application, they don't understand the application. They give the
Mm,
client an idea, and then the client starts to not trust the mortgage person. It's just like it's a complete cluster, and the realtors are their own worst enemies. They're trying to make sure their commissions,
wow.
but really what they're doing is they're screwing themselves. So what's interesting though is, with the YouTube channel, what we realized early on in the YouTube channel was that ultimately the real estate agent isn't the product, the mortgage broker isn't the product, the loan isn't the product. The thing that we're all selling is the same thing. It's we're selling their dream home to them, or we're selling them the dream that they can afford a home.
Yeah.
And when you think about it that way, if the home is the product, then it neutralizes every single person in the process, the lawyer, the title company, the appraiser, the
Mm,
mortgage broker, the realtor. And really, we're all just trying to get the client to the same goal. And when you really think about the order of things and how somebody goes through that process, realtors are like, "Call me first," and then they're like, "Oh, but the first thing you need to do is go talk to the mortgage broker." So who's
mm,
really, or the lender or the bank. So who's
yeah.
really first in the process? And when we started
Mhm.
to figure that out, and we started to build up the YouTube channel, we realized that, yeah, realtors are really good at doing the painful thing, which is finding the clients. But if we just interject ourselves into that process, then we get the control. It's done in the right order for the client. And then we also get a little bit of a say in making sure they're dealing with the right people. And that's really when it comes down to it. I mean, I'm an economist, I'm all about efficiencies.
Yeah, me
And
too.
that's the most efficient process for us. It's the most efficient process for the client. And it's the most efficient process for the realtor because we're basically serving up the client now to the realtor. And all they have to do is not fuck it up.
I love that, and I need to put emphasis for the viewers and listeners out there, like, not fuck it up, yeah, but no,
Hmm.
emphasis on the fact that there's a process of elimination, okay?
Mhm.
And one of the things that fires me up in this industry is that a lot of agents, not to go too far off left field here, is they don't have business degrees, they don't have marketing degrees, they take spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, they don't understand SOPs, they don't understand KPIs, and they don't think about income producing activities. So the first point that you made from the perspective of the fact that they like to say badger the lender, which first and foremost, anyone listening and viewing, you don't badger the lender. That's not okay. Okay, first off, that's the bad business practices, and that's representing our industry, which is not okay. And second off, it's true. Like you are the first person of interest because these agents like to go out because they want to be, I don't know, busy, or you see agents with this content that looks really polished, but then you look at the production value, it's not there, and it's just like, why? Well, maybe because you're showing homes to people that aren't pre-qualified, and you're emotionally getting connected to something they can't afford,
Mhm.
right? Like
For sure.
let's slow down here.
Mhm.
you know, and make sure they're pre-qualified, and then that's why I feel like the LO should be more responsible for, let's get the pre-call done. I even like the idea of on a website even have an IDX. So then you can set them up with searches and say they can save searches. They can start looking through homes and the whole nine from the perspective of getting the mortgage situated, and finances, and can you afford what first, and then bring the agent in so the agent can have fun and go do some cool content and go show
Yeah,
some homes.
totally. Absolutely. And I think what's interesting is, you look at real estate agents and where they think their biggest threat is. It was Zillow like 10 years ago, and now it's
Yeah.
NAR and all this commission stuff and everything else. And not so much in Canada, although it's coming. We're a little bit behind the
Okay.
US market, but if you look at the US market, the biggest threat to real estate agents isn't so much the Zillows and those types of platforms. It's like the Rocket Mortgages of the world, which are starting to
Mm.
access the clients first. And that to me is probably where you're going to see real estate agents start to lose their business, and where you're going to have a relationship with those bigger aggregators. But it's not the aggregators you're thinking of, it's the ones that you're not paying attention to.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And this is where it goes. We're going to go even deeper here because this is where I feel like we can easily transition into YouTube. And this is getting good. So, everyone out there, buckle up your seatbelts because we're going deep. No point intended. So,
Mm.
when you think about YouTube and you think about a lot of these individuals living in Dallas, Texas, Levi Lassick and Travis, 386 transactions within 4 years or less. One of our referral partners on the Liftoff agent side. You have $300 million done by Adam Hancock, who has the the Florida relocation guide, and he has a independent brokerage called the Sunshine State Company in Florida, just to name two. Okay, and so what's happening is, from a psychological standpoint, individuals are finding, say, the place of interest where they want to relocate. So my wife and I were living in California, and we want to relocate here to Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa, potentially Scottsdale, but that was pretty much, Scottsdale. Everyone knows about that. So what's up and coming? What's next? And so, long story short, found a guy on YouTube, and he wasn't an agent. It was just showing parks, schools, restaurants, downtowns, all the things. And I was looking at the growth rate. And I was doing all this research. So I'm thinking maybe 12 to 24. This is for the viewers and listeners out there that are agents. Okay. I'm thinking, as a potential buyer of a home, 12 to 24 months out. And now I'm
Mhm.
doing research and I'm getting my information. And this is a perfect opportunity where, like, the Adam Hancocks of the world, the living in Dallas, Texas, Levi Elastic Travis, is just to name a few, also, you as well, is putting out information where, then, before you're even psychologically thinking about when you're going to move, but when you're manifesting, right, if you will, putting the vibration and the thought vibration of, like, hey, I want to see if Arizona is the next thing for me personally. And then I want to see the growth rate. I want to see the safety. My daughter's, she's going on 6. She's 5 right now and just started first grade last week. And his wife is crying, squirrel. Uh, and so for me, that's what basically tickled my fancy and made me feel like, all right, cool. So that was before the Rocket Mortgage and all that type of stuff. For me, it was that. And that's where I think that, just to give contrast to your point, I think that agents need to think about, the fact of the matter is that, how do you add value before you actually have someone that wants to potentially buy or sell or list, right?
Yep.
Because there's so many people that are doing that top of the funnel, running those ads, and specifically trying to then network to said potential buyer or seller, right? And so that's just something that I wanted to go a little deeper on. I think it'd be a good transition into YouTube, because I feel like, do you feel that that comes up for you because you're educating and talking about these things? So people buy from someone they know, like, and trust, right? And then if you're an authority, then you're someone that has the information. And then I can imagine you're having conversations with someone that already knows, likes, trusts you, and watching you for who knows how long. And so, throw as many Rocket Mortgage ads as you want at these people. You're it for them.
Yep, 100%. And you're right. And, okay, so everything you just said there is so bang on, and I especially when it comes to YouTube, and I don't even think you realize, I don't think there's anyone in the US or in North America who understands
Mm,
how what you just said applies to YouTube. And I don't know Levi, he's done a great job on his YouTube channel, but
yeah.
looked at his YouTube channel, and when I look at it, it's like he's probably left 90% of the potential deals he could have done on the table. So read between the
Mm,
lines of what you just said and what he's done on his channel, and look
mm.
at that, and there's a lot that he's left on, and if he left on the table, and if he just did a little bit more of what you just said, like, he would be at 3,000 deals, not 300 deals. And what's interesting
Wow.
about it is, like, when it comes to the YouTube thing, and we talked about real estate, lender dynamic, we did in 2012, 2013, 2014, we were doing the online leads for definitely the number one guy in Canada for online leads, and I'm
Hmm.
relatively certain that he'd be the number one guy in North America for online leads.
Mhm.
And my team hated it. They were like,
Wow.
my wife called 60,000 clients in a single 12-month period while she was pregnant. She's by
Wow.
the way, my wife just it's not like my wife called them. She is literally one of the best mortgage brokers in the country by volume,
Let's
and
go.
she knows how to do a deal. And they hated it because extrapolate that out, like, it's basically 80 hours a week just making phone calls to people who don't wanna hear from you. And in
Hmm.
2020, when the YouTube channel for us started getting big, my team was like, "Absolutely not," because everyone who does deals on my team has been with me for a decade.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they're like, "We don't want the online leads. We don't want to deal with realtors who do online leads. We don't want referrals from realtors who have online leads who maybe have built a relationship, but maybe we don't actually, maybe they don't know the client that well. They're like, no, if they do online leads, we don't want them.
Yeah.
And when the YouTube stuff started coming in, I'm like, can you guys start like paying attention to these YouTube leads? And they're like, nope, don't want it. And Jess, who's been my right hand for like 12 years, she's so amicable. She cares so much about people and she doesn't ever want to disappoint anybody, which makes her a great lender.
I
But I
love
said
that.
to her, you just do 10. And I knew she wouldn't say no. So she does the first three and we get into one of our meetings and I go, how's the YouTube stuff going? And she goes, weird. And I'm like, weird. What do you mean weird? And she's like, well, they fill out the application and then I call them and sometimes they pick up, sometimes they don't. If I get them on the phone, it's the same thing as if I email them.
Huh.
But even if I don't get on the phone with them, I email them and they say, "Yeah, I watched 6 of Nolan's videos. In this video, he said, get this mortgage. That's what I want. What do you need from me?" And I'm
Wow.
like, "Okay, cool." But and then she's like, "But they don't ask about the rate. They don't ask about they don't fight me on the documents. They don't fight me on the process. They're just like, yeah, just give me that." And it turned out that what was happening was these people were watching my videos. They felt like they had a relationship with me. They knew they were going to be taken care of. And these
Yeah.
clients now, my team fights over them because they see them as better than the clients who have already dealt with us. And
Yes.
it's crazy. They just got that relationship. It's like I watched Friends on TV every Thursday night for the first 20 years of my life. And I feel like I know Jennifer Aniston. She has no clue who I was. If I saw her in the street, she'd be like, "Who are you?" And I'd feel like she was my best friend, maybe even my girlfriend. But at the end of the day, it's like they've got this relationship with us before we even have a conversation with them, and it's just the power of having those videos that last a while and the power
Yeah.
of having those videos that build that relationship. It's just like nothing I've ever seen, and I can't build a business model off of Instagram. I can't build one off of TikTok. I have somebody in my mastermind who has 400,000 followers on TikTok. She's never done a deal off of TikTok, and she's got the
Wow.
most followed TikTok account in the real estate industry. But we put her on
Wow.
YouTube, she does like 20 videos, and she's making a ton of money off it. So, the YouTube thing, it's just there's something about the algorithm. We know what it is, and
Yep.
once you see it, you can't unsee it, and then
Yep.
you basically are able to scale yourself as a result.
I love that. I absolutely love that, and it's so true. I had a couple of videos go viral. One's almost at 4 million. The other one's at I think just shy of a million, 8 to 900,000. And one was wiping counters. It was a little joke video for my wife, and I put it on there, and it went viral. And then another one's some stupid Walmart thing that I did. But all I get from that is mixed reviews, hate, the whole nine. And I'm okay with posting a video that gets 500 to 1,000 views, and then getting a DM than getting 4 million views on something that just doesn't make any sense, and then they don't kind of get it. And it's like the majority of the viral I feel out there for viewers and listeners, it's just like controversial video that basically someone could watch, or it's something that's like super like emotionally moving because someone has cancer and they got $100 million and then they came out of it and they're okay. But YouTube, I love it. I absolutely love it, and I see that, and that's what we're pushing on the sponsor side. Lift Off Agent is understand, like, is it a buyer, is it a seller, and why, and how do you add value first? Like the 7 triggers to yes states that if you do something for someone else not expecting anything back, you're more inclined to get something back. And so I love the fact that those leads were just like, I know what I want. This is what it is, and you've already coached them through that process. And human psychology, individuals that come up with the idea themselves, right, are more like, okay, cool. It's, and not everyone's coachable. And when you're dealing with these leads from Facebook and Instagram and you're paying for Google PPC, it's like, okay, cool. And then you still have to call, and you still have to build the know, like, and trust, and you still have to see if there's a connection. And Adam Hancock, who did $300 million, he's probably the number one client that we have on the Lift Off Agent side, sponsor of the show. He went deeper with the value add, then built his team and his whole entire independent brokerage from just adding tons of value to the individuals out there. And he saw the writing on the wall pretty quick. And so yeah, so hats off to you for going down that road. For lead flow, for someone who's listening and says, you know what, maybe YouTube is, I want to do YouTube, or they're doing YouTube and they're like, man, I'm just really feeling like I'm down and out right now. Do I film another video? Do I continue? What's some case studies, if you will, as far as some success stories that you had from your YouTube channel and the success that you've seen from that process of passive prospecting, if you will?
Yes. So, yeah, I think there's a couple here, and I think the best example is this is Instagram and TikTok have gotten us so set on like having a video and having it go viral and get a million views.
Yeah.
And even YouTube's been at fault for this in their rankings. So every time you put out a video, it ranks it 1 out of 10. And you're always
Okay.
aiming to get a 1 out of 10 video, and a 10 out of
Yeah.
10 video sucks. But when I look back, so I've got 2 channels. I've got my main channel, which is now a US global economic channel, and I've
Okay.
got Canadian real estate channel. But the original channel, the main channel, started as a Canadian real estate channel. There was a gold video that got like 900,000 views. It
Mm.
made it more American oriented. But
Yeah.
when I look at that original channel, I can go through it and I can go through the last 48 hours live views. And, the top 10 videos are videos that are very much global economic, bigger audience. But
Yeah.
then when you get like 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, there's a home buyer, how to buy a home video. There's a mortgage basics video. There's a how much home can you actually afford video. There's a 2 best banks to get a mortgage in Canada videos. There's a fixed versus variable rate
Mm.
video. And they get like 60, 70 views per day. When they started off, they ranked 10 out of 10. They were the worst videos of the last 10 that I'd published. But
Wow.
now, if you look at them over the same timeline, they're all 1 out of 10s based on when they were published. And the
Wow.
thing about them is, they were made in 2021, 22, maybe some of them 2023,
Mm.
but they're evergreen content, educational content, and it's the type of content that you put it up and you're like, "Oh, that didn't work." And then 3 years later, it's got 100,000 views and you're like, "Oh, it's actually made us that video there has made us $250,000." But that instant gratification thing, if we had just looked at it and it's like, "Oh, I didn't get any views," well,
Mhm.
I probably wouldn't have kept going. In fact, this happened to me in 2014 when Casey Neistat was doing his thing.
Yeah.
I put up like 5 videos and none of them worked, and then it wasn't 2000 until 2020 when the pandemic hit that, we have 7,000 clients, we're super efficient, we have 5 people that work for us. We do volumes that most companies that have 50 people do, and when the pandemic hit and everyone wanted to defer their mortgage or get forbearance is what it was called in the US,
Yeah.
everyone's calling us, everyone's calling their banks, the banks basically unplugged their phones, and I'm like, "We can't talk to everybody." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna make a video. I'm just gonna email it to all of our clients." When I open up the
Mm.
YouTube account just to, like, take a look and see or just to publish the video, I'm looking at these videos from 5 years ago, and they all have, like, 5, 10,000 views on them. I'm like, "Oh, shoot, I
Wow.
didn't think that worked," and they did. So I didn't have time to pay attention to that in that moment, but I was like, "That's interesting. I'll come back to that." And what I realized after the fact was sometimes the videos don't get views right out of the gate, but they get them way down the road and they end up being things that produce a significant amount of income. And the thing is like talked about the business model and having a business model for it. We actually have a formula. I can usually predict a real estate agent's income off of YouTube based on the number of views that they have to within like 5 to 10%. I've run it
Wow.
off of 120 channels. And when you know that and you know it's about views and it will translate into dollars, then it just becomes a matter of keep going. And the way I look at it today is this is Instagram and TikTok are potentially the fast money if you know how to use them.
Mhm.
And here for Instagram, if you're a realtor and you're not DMing people directly and doing outreach and you're just spraying and praying content instead, it's not going to work. You're wasting your time. But if you know how to use those 2 platforms, that's the fast money. YouTube's the long-term play and it's the big money. And I think there's a way to use both and do
Mm.
well, but you got to understand the mechanisms of the platform that you're on. And once you understand that and you see that long-term YouTube's the play, it's like an investment account and there's a snowball effect. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the people who keep going end up doing well with it.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing, and it's almost like an indoctrination, like we're being indoctrinated into thinking like the quick, fast dopamine hit, like, "Let's go viral, let's look at the short term, oh my god," and, like, I think a lot of agents also, like we talked about earlier, take spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and it's like, "Well, if I could just get a video, I
Mhm.
don't know, Instagram, and it goes viral and I can get 1,000,000 views, I don't know how much deals I could pull out of that, but that'd be kinda cool," instead of, like, actually thinking like, "Okay, let's set some intention here. Like, why am I filming this video? What's the intention behind the video? What is the outcome from the video?" And then from there, like, what would I wanna how do I wanna approach this for a buyer or a seller or an area or whatever the case may be? So I love and I just wanna put emphasis on for viewers and listeners, like, try not to think about YouTube as instant gratification. I know that we've seen success within 3 to 6 months on YouTube as far as the clients on the lift off agent side. And it takes time for that. And it's definitely something that just doesn't happen overnight. And I joke about there's like a war going on from the perspective of passive prospecting and then Google PPC are paying for leads. And I feel that I feel like the cool thing about YouTube, just now thinking about this, is that YouTube is a great platform. Not that social media can't, but is a good platform for like if you could wait it out, have some savings, set some intentions, be consistent, you can then be able to get to a point where you can possibly prospect, bring in deal flow over, in your sleep at night. And I tell so many people, I'm like, hey, dude, like tie this into your website. Have a buyer side, have a seller side page. What are your SOPs and KPIs? And like top of the funnel is your YouTube, bring them to your site. You plant a Facebook pixel, you retarget them. And then at the top of the site, you have a video that walks them down the process. Intake form, download the guide, set up searches, whatever it is, right? And so that's our standard operating procedure on the lift off agent side that basically serves, our clients out there. And they just so many of them just don't understand it. And they just like see these like, oh my God, look at this tool, look at that tool. I just went to this event and this person said do that. And then they do it and they're asking themselves, why isn't it working? Well, I wonder.
Well, that's and I gotta say this, like, if you're watching this channel and you follow Norman, everything he just said, go back, rewind this, and if you have to play it in slow motion, like, he just gave you the blueprint. And if you didn't understand any of it, just go and Google the parts you didn't understand or reach out to Norman and literally, like, everything you just said, that's it, and it's just business is modeling. And if you can figure out the things that either you do that work or other people do that work, and you can just model it and tweak it and constantly make small improvements, that's it. That's the game. But if you do something and you don't assess why it didn't work and you just quit, well, you just wasted all of your time and now you're about to move on to the next thing. And this is the bad habit is you move on to the next thing. It also doesn't work. So you quit and move to the next thing. And then 6 months later, you're out of the business.
Yep. The definition of insanity. Okay, so I really first and foremost, thank you so much for that, and definitely take his advice. I love it, and I want to move into the I like challenge, and I say no pressure, no diamonds. Doesn't challenge you, doesn't change you. I say that to my team all the time, and I love to be, I guess you could say, like under the knife. So I want to change the vibe up here for the show, bring in the YouTube channel for Real Estate First Technology, and then let's have the viewers and listeners watch if you're on YouTube or listen. And if you want to watch this, go to youtube.com and check out this episode and you'll be very much in sync with what we're about to show you. But I want to see how you kind of analyze the channel, what we're doing, suggestions, what have you. Are you up for that for this segment of the show?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's do it. So I'm going to go ahead and change our angle here. Let's go ahead and bring in this here, and then there it is. So there's our channel, and I'll let you take it away.
Sweet. So, you know, when it comes to YouTube, everyone thinks about, what camera they need. They think about production. They think about editing. They think about what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. And that's all important. But really
Mm,
what we're doing is we're doing education. And there's this separation, right? There's entertainment versus education. And a lot of the times we want to make the education content because Instagram and TikTok have trained us to make educate
yeah.
or entertainment content, sorry. And as a result, we try to make things flashy. Well, the reality is YouTube's got two different kind of categories. It's entertainment, education. It's the place people go to watch Mr. Beast lock 100 people in a room for 100 days. And it's also the place that people go to figure out how to unclog their toilet. So
Uh,
when we look at real estate channels, it's like they focus on trying to make the content polished and everything. And what real estate agents don't realize, mortgage brokers don't realize, is that you can literally make crappy content. In fact, I've got videos on the channel that I took from 0 to 1,000 subscribers in 9 days that were filmed on my phone in various different hotel rooms because I was traveling, and the iPhone worked just as well as my DSLR camera that I've got in the studio here. In fact, it worked better because everything's done in software, and the image quality, just because the Apple software is so good, is actually seen by YouTube as being super high quality, and it actually gives you a little bit of a bump. So, people are
ah,
worried about DSLRs that are complicated, and really what they're doing is they're hurting their chances versus using what's in their pocket. So when it comes to to a channel for a real estate agent, it's really not about production. In fact, what you should be focusing on is number of views that you get.
Yep.
Subscribers is a vanity metric, doesn't matter. Returning viewers matters. So if you look in your studio, you can see returning viewers. That's more important than subscribers. And when it really comes down to getting views, there's three things that you can solve for. Click-through rate, so that's the percentage of people that when they see a video actually click on it. The amount of time that people watch your videos and how many videos they watch. So if you make one video, will they watch the next? And then the third one is number of videos that you make. And anytime you want to dial up views, if you just change one of those three things, you dial up the views. And when you dial up views, you dial up income. Like I said, we have a formula that we can calculate number of views and we can pretty much predict income. It's all views based.
Yeah.
So what that means though, in a roundabout way, is that it all comes down to your thumbnail and your title. And we call that packaging. And packaging actually has three components. It's thumbnail, title, and idea. The idea is the most important one. So who is the idea made for? If you want to build a big channel, you got to have bigger ideas. If you want to build a channel that, specifically targets one type of buyer, then you got to have smaller ideas, but targeted ideas. And then from there, you never want to make a video without having proof that it already works on the platform. So I'll give you an example of this. We have a loan officer. I'm not allowed to call her a mortgage broker, even though it's the same thing. It's just Canadian versus American terms.
Yep.
But she's in Montana and she wanted to make a video on mortgage myths. So what we did is we went in here and we typed in mortgage myths. And when you pull up the search results, it's like, well, this video has 250 views. This one has 2.9 thousand views. This one has 594 views, 2.5 thousand views. Instantly, we can see mortgage myths is not a good video. It's not a good idea. Clients don't care. They don't care about the myths. Now, what I
Mm.
said to her is I said, how can we say that in a different way? And I already knew what the answer was. She picked out one other word. She liked the alliteration. So it was like mortgage, something else. Didn't work. And then she came up with on her own mortgage mistakes. Now, I knew that this was going to be the answer. So you type in mortgage mistakes, and well, there's me, 1.7 thousand views. Now this is done. I don't have my VPN on, so this is all. A lot of it's going to be Canadian content, but then you've got this
Yeah.
one, 2,000 views. You can already see it's a bigger idea. Then you've got Dave Ramsey, 386,000 views, 1.7 thousand views, 13,000 views. This one is 34 views. I'm surprised it shows up there, but already you can tell it's a bigger idea. So now the idea is mortgage mistakes instead of mortgage myths. And then
Got it.
all you do is find the biggest video and you're like, okay, this is the one. These mortgage mistakes could cost you thousands. That's the video she needs to make. These mortgage mistakes could cost you thousands. So now you've got the idea, you've verified the idea, you found a title framework that works. And by the way, the number one thing that realtors want to do is they want to make everything their own. Um, don't do that. Literally,
Yeah.
when you're looking for something that works, you're looking for something that works. And that's the same thing on YouTube. It's like you got to use the brand equity of what's already working. So I would literally take this, these mortgage mistakes could cost you thousands. And I do almost the same thumbnail as well. The words would be avoid these mortgage mistakes, put your face on it and make it yours, but don't change things too much. And that's kind
Yeah.
of the secret. And we were talking about this before we came on. You mentioned Graham Stephan. My channel blew up and grew 10 times faster than any other channel in Canada. And the one thing I didn't mention, by the way, is last year there were 449,000 homes sold in Canada. There were 635,000 unique Canadian viewers on my channel. So if you extrapolate that out, assume there's 4 people on every transaction, a couple on the buyers, a couple on the seller side. It's actually less than that because there's single people that buy homes too.
Yeah.
But if you extrapolate that out, 35% of Canadians were exposed to my channel last year. The way we did it
Wow.
literally took Graham Stephan's best real estate titles, and all he did was took his title and I put in Canada at the end. And the YouTube algorithm is so sophisticated. It's actually been on AI since 2013, even though AI has only been something that's been in the public eye since, basically 18 months ago.
Yeah.
YouTube algorithm is so sophisticated that what it did is it said, okay, this is Graham Stephan. He's got an American audience. These titles are similar. Let's just go find the Canadian audience that looks like the American one. And that's what it did. YouTube developed an audience for me that was a lookalike audience of Graham Stephan's. and then it was just easy from there. So that's kind of the trick. It's
Wow.
like, how do I find the thumbnails? How do I find the titles? And you never make a video unless you've got a thumbnail and a title that you can be inspired by. And you might change a word here or there. You might add something to it. You might take something away. But like the juice is the juice. Don't try to make it different. Don't go and pour coffee in your lemonade. Just leave it lemonade. And every once in a while, yeah, you might pour a little bit of iced tea in there and make an Arnold Palmer and make it a little bit better. Use lemonade's lemonade. Keep it lemonade. So that's the key thing. It's like when you make a video, make sure that you've got the human psychology behind it by going out and finding what people are already clicking on. And then what it comes down to is like half your time should be research, getting the thumbnail right, getting the title right. Nobody ever wants to do
Yeah.
this. You say it, people are like, yeah, I got to start doing that. But like that's the difference between quitting and having a channel that makes you $1 million a year. Now, when I look at your channel, there's a couple things I would do when I go and look at somebody's channel. I look at two things. I'll look at first what videos are doing really well recently. So when I go in here and I take a look, it's like they're pretty consistent. There's this one from trucking to thriving in real estate with Thomas Baker. This would be a title or a title framework that I would continue using because this one's got some
Mm,
juice.
got it.
Then I would go and I'd just keep looking and see if there's any other outliers here. There's this one down here, transform your investments with buy and hold and burr tactics. So this might be something that I would do more videos on as well. From
Yeah.
prison to millionaire mindset, another one. If you can find more prisoners that became realtors, awesome. I do more interviews with people like that. But then what the next step is like that's the recent videos that are working. Then I'd go and I'd sort by popular. And when I sort by popular here, is this Posick here? Is that who that is? Ken Posick,
That one. Yeah.
the top one. So like here you go. Now I don't know if the person that kind of screwed your channel over had done something to this video or not, but I'm gonna guess Ken Posick actually got some views and some real views. So I would look at oh sorry, that's Chad Vaughn is what that says.
Yeah. Chad.
So
Chad.
I might go in here and let's assume that this didn't have the issue that you had. I would go and I'd take a look at the most popular videos and I'd just be like, okay, well, this one works. So how realtors can create a lasting relationship on whatever the rest of this title is. I might try another video on creating lasting relationships. And then I might do how to utilize TikTok in your real estate business. I might do another one based on that. And when you start doing repeat content on stuff that works, the
Yeah.
algorithm already knows that that video works. It already knows what the audience is. And as a result, what ends up happening is it gets pushed back out to that same audience. And not only that, it gets pushed to a new audience as well. And that's how you really build a channel. This is Hope Scope. She's in one of the masterminds I'm in. 4.79 or 4.97 million subscribers. She's presenting at Vid Summit. If you're a YouTuber, September like 3rd to 5th, Vid Summit's the place you want to be. That's where you get like the inside juice. But you look at her channel and you sort by popular, and it's like, I bought discontinued. I bought every. I spent. I bought. I bought. I bought. I bought. She's found a title framework. It works. Now every video is based on that original title framework. And then same
Love
thing
it.
here. Like these are her more recent views. I bought. I created. I bought. I bought. I went. I bought. And it's like once you know that it's going to work, once you know the title frameworks, you got to know that the algorithm knows the title frameworks as well. And if you use the title frameworks and you make enough videos, it's just a matter of time until one pops off. And I'll show you this on something a little bit that's a little bit more closer to home, Graham Stephan's channel. If you go and look at his videos, I want you to pay attention to two things here. I want you to pay attention to the pictures that he uses, so his face, and the titles. So it started is one of his title frameworks, right? So it started urgent, urgent, urgent. He keeps using the same words over and over again.
Yeah.
That's totally by design. And then look at his face and look at the thumbnail framework. Federal Reserve, same face, different words. Federal Reserve, same face, different words. Federal Reserve, same face, different words. When you find something that works, you just keep doing it. So now taking this back to your channel, okay, how do we make this kind of go crazy
I
and go
got
where we
every
want it to go. Well, what you got to do is you got to figure out what's the stuff that the audience that you want is actually watching. Now, the good news for you is the channel's not big enough yet that the damage that she did is irreparable,
Got it.
and it's easy to reestablish the audience. So, what's another podcast or another real estate channel that you have or that you're aware of, not that you have, sorry, that is in the same vein and would have a similar audience to the audience you're trying to attract?
The investor guys, they have the investor podcasts, bigger pockets. I would say
Okay.
bigger pockets podcast. They're very well established in the real estate segment.
The Bigger Pockets podcast, do they target real estate investors or real estate agents?
I think more investors.
Yeah. So not your audience because you're trying to target real estate agents, right?
Yeah.
So if I don't know what the answer to that is, I might go and just search real estate agent podcast.
Uh,
So if I go and I look at this, it's like, okay, Keller Williams comes up, real estate agent development. We've got Behind the Rise podcast. We've got
Tom Ferry for sure.
Tom Ferry. Now, Tom Ferry, you have to be careful because I don't know for sure, but it appears that in the past he's done some boosting on his YouTube videos, so some of them might not actually be as organically big as what you might expect. But
Yeah.
I happen to know that there is a podcast that is kind of in your niche. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna look at your competitors here,
Yeah. They're doing
and
it for a while and they kind of like fell off as far as I don't know. They're still 'cause I know that him and the Asian Open in your area, the singing realtor, Matt
this,
Ladinelli was doing some
yep,
podcasts with him too.
yep, Matt's a buddy of mine, and yeah, they were doing it. Fell off. They're getting back on it. But the reason why I want to look at his channel is because this is like exactly who you're trying to target. They've got 27,000 subscribers.
Yep.
And what I want to do is I want to see what videos are working on their channel so that I can go, okay, well, what are the videos that are working so I can emulate the titles and emulate the content more specifically that my audience is already watching. So if I go and look at this, now I've got some tools in here that are add-ons. So you don't normally see this on YouTube, but I've got these things that shows 5.4x, 2.1x. So when I
Yep.
look at the channel, it's like, okay, obviously the NAR thing's a big thing. EXP CEO allegedly breaks silence on commission sharing rules. The truth behind Ricky Carruthers' controversial post and new Las Vegas thing. Now, some of this content we can use the titles. Some of it's like really news specific. NAR
Yeah.
settlement again. I mean, right here, like I would say that just from what I can see, the NAR settlement and how technology is going to matter with respect to the NAR settlement for real estate agents is a great topic for you.
Yeah.
And then DOJ speaks out. Okay, so they've got lots of stuff recently on the NAR stuff and the XP stuff. Whatever. Let's go and take a look at their popular videos. So now we've got CoStar CEO sends clear message to Wall Street Journal, Realtor Comedy. Oh, the scripts to sell 1,000 homes per year. No brainer, right? Here's
Yeah.
one for
Huge.
you. It's like I would take that scripts to sell 1,000 homes a year. Find somebody who's good at that. Maybe it's Tina, maybe it's somebody else, and literally you could do the exact same title, or you could do the scripts to sell whatever many million dollars that is per year in homes.
Yeah.
The email follow-up strategy that built Sirhan. So the email follow-up strategy that XYZ doesn't have to be about Sirhan. Naked listing video, that's interesting. How to handle every real estate objection. So these are all topics that your audience has watched already on this channel. Now you just take those topics and you take the titles and you tweak them, make them your own. Don't It's inspiration, not copycatting, but literally like the algorithm will know that if you make a video that's the scripts to sell X per year, that they've already got a video out there like that and they'll just feed it to that audience.
Yeah. I love
Now,
that.
now these guys are doing they're doing a good job on their thumbnails. You could do a better job on their thumbnails. So let's now take a look at how to make better thumbnails for your podcast. So I'm just going to go like this. Type in podcast, see what happens. Okay, so full send podcast, big podcast, right?
Yep.
So I might click on there. I might go to their videos. I might check out their popular stuff. Okay, their popular stuff and their most recent stuff all have the similar thumbnails. So it's like faces, white text. Now, they're using big names, so that's what's getting the views. You might have to say something, you might have to put something significant in there like 1,000 views or sorry, 1,000 sales or 35% market share for me or
Yeah.
something that's intriguing. But what you always want to do is you want to use the thumbnail as the opportunity to create intrigue and create a gap between that and the title that makes it so interesting that the person who sees it has no choice but to watch it.
Yep. I love that.
And then I'll just show you another quick one. I'll show you the guy that does this the best for like what you would need to do because you can't use the big names. Well, you might have some big names, like if Ryan Serhant comes on the show, you put Ryan Serhant's name on it.
Yeah.
But if it's like me, who the American audience doesn't know me yet, I might have to do something different. So this would be how I would do it. So you might have something like white text, the real problem, the big recession is coming. Um, end of real estate for a NAR video would be a banger. I guarantee
And
you'd
then
get.
humanity.
So that's kind of the things that you're looking for. So now if we take that back to your channel, which is now 10 screens back, and we look at your videos, it's like, okay, well, how can we make these better? Okay, expand your audience reach, constant creation strategies with Jeff Tincher. Jeff's in my mastermind in my YouTube course, by the way, so I know him well. He's awesome.
Love it.
So expanding audience reach. Well, how can we say that in a way from one of the titles we previously saw? The videos that sell 1,000 homes per year. He works with Brad McCallum. Might not be 1,000 homes per year, but the number's pretty big. So now
Yep.
you've in that that title framework from the Broke Agent podcast, you've transferred it over to your channel, and then it's like, okay, so selling 1,000,000 homes, and then you might do something like, I don't know, what's Brad's number up to? It's like 49,000 subscribers. I might put something like 49,000 subscribers and then a dollar amount for how many homes, the commission that they've earned off of those subscribers. Now you've
I love
created
that.
a video that like people have to watch. But the key thing is making the words big, making it look like, the Tom Bilyeu or the whatever that other podcast we pulled up was,
Yeah. Full send.
making it the words bigger, making it more like those ones, and then having a proven thumbnail combined with a proven title. And that's where you'll start to get videos that start to pop off and go crazy. And really what you want to do is you want to make all your thumbnails look like they're world-class thumbnails, make them look like the absolute best YouTubers in the world made them. And it's pretty simple to do that. All you have to do is go, okay, I'm going to screenshot this thumbnail. I'm going to go to Upwork and I'm going to say to somebody in Upwork, I need this thumbnail recreated with my face and make it editable in Canva. And then now you've got the thumbnail with your face on it. And all you have to do is go in and every time you make a podcast, all you're doing is adjusting the text.
Yeah.
And then you find another thumbnail that works and you do the same thing and another thumbnail, and you'll start to see which stuff really works well on your channel. And when it really works on your channel, you'll know before you even press publish on a video whether or not it's going to perform. And what it ends up looking like is something like this. If I just show you my channel. So we know what titles and thumbnails work every single time. If you go and you look, it's like that's the Graham Stephan framework. It started. It's over. It's over. We have a fixed rate title framework for interest rate updates that always works. We have Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, and Bank of Canada title frameworks that always work. This yellow box, by the way, it's interesting. I've tested the only one that's tested better than this yellow box is this $235,000 loss one. But almost every single time we test the yellow box, it's the only one that works. It outperforms every single time. And how I
Yeah.
found this was by researching US YouTubers in the real estate industry. There's a guy named Jason Walter. I've never met him. I don't know him at all. He's got about 100,000 subscribers. About a year and a half ago, he had 2 videos that popped off, and he was using the same sort of title or the same sort of thumbnail look. And all I did was test it on my channel. And now, like, if you look across Canada, every single Canadian YouTuber uses this yellow text framework because we know 100% of the time it works. And literally, all we did was
Wow.
found it on another channel. We had a case study for it, tested it on ours. It works and it keeps working. And I can't freaking beat it. Every once in a while, I do like this interest rate one, beat it. This avoid these mortgage mistakes one, beat it. But
Yeah.
like 90% of the time, like we can't beat it. So it's really like it's that's it. It's like 90% of people's time should be focusing on ideas, packaging, thumbnails, titles, and then applying it to your channel and testing, seeing what works. And if you can get that right, that gets the clicks. When you start getting the clicks, then you'll start to get the retention data and the other data that you can go into your analytics and find and figure
Yep.
out how to make videos better. But the way that you make the videos better is by first getting people to click on them so you can get the data to actually make them better.
Wow. That's absolutely phenomenal. And so much that you just unpacked there. I gotta say that viewers and listeners out there, go give some love to this gentleman because yeah, knowing you're crushing it first and foremost. Thank you so much for the feedback, and it's great because our team and staff that edits all this is going to be on the Lift Off Agent side. So I want to make sure everyone watches this podcast within the team, so that way, because for us, we're not sending anything over to Fiverr or Upwork. We're all in house, but anyone who's watching Fiverr, definitely right. Rinse, repeat, keep it super simple, and yeah, I also now have aspirations to go back to every single copy, thumbnail, and update every single video. We have 400 episodes now to edit, but we're gonna do that and test some of these theories and see how it works out because it's definitely been our intention as we grow is to be
Okay.
able to go wide and then now we go deeper. So I really
So let
appreciate this opportunity.
Definitely, and let me save you some time on that whole process, okay? So here's what I want you to do. If you're watching this and you've got a YouTube channel and you've already got a bunch of videos, same thing. Don't go and just start randomly changing thumbnails and titles.
Huh?
Go back into your channel, go into your analytics and look at 2 things. When you go into your analytics, it'll tell you the top videos. It'll give it to you initially for 28 days. Switch it to 90 days. Look at your top videos for the last 90 days. Change those thumbnails, and then go into your analytics and look at the real-time views and look at anything that's getting views in the last 48 hours and do those ones. So just do those videos first. It'll probably end up being like maybe 25 to 28 videos.
Yep.
Do those, see what happens. We literally did this with a guy 2 weeks ago. We said change out the thumbnails on basically your top 15 videos, the top 10, and then 5 of the ones that were getting views in the last 48 hours, and his organic traffic tripled within a day,
Wow.
just on thumbnail changes. And
That's
he was
huge.
so
This has been action packed with so much that I feel like individuals can actually take and apply and have success with what they're doing. That's our intention with bringing individuals like yourself on the show today. So yeah, so that was huge. That was huge. I think that this is more than just a podcast. It's an immersive experience, man. Nolan, this has been amazing. As we get closer now to finishing off our show, I know we've gone over a little bit, so I appreciate your time. What's the last piece of like a golden nugget you would like to give to our viewers and listeners as they wrap up today's episode?
a little story to go along with it. I've spent a lot of time in the last 6 months with some really big names in the real estate industry, some bigger names in the fitness industry, and what I've come to realize is that when you look at other industries and how they operate, especially the fitness industry, when it comes to social, they are miles and miles ahead of where the real estate industry is. And my realization going back to January is that the thing that real estate agents need to be really careful of is who their guru is, who they're listening to, and whether or not that person that they're listening to and they're taking advice from. And I'm going to tell you right now, the biggest names in the industry, when it comes to training, a lot of them are leading people astray because they really don't have any idea if things are working. they're really just looking at stuff. They're finding outliers and they're going, hey, go be like Matt Leonetti. Well, Leonetti is a buddy of mine. He's a freaking freak of nature. And there's only one Matt Leonetti. And anybody who tells you go be like Matt Leonetti is basically telling you to go waste your time because you're not going to be Matt Leonetti. So at the end of the day, like, the number one thing I would tell people is be careful where you get your information from. And if you really want to build a business, the best thing you can do is figure out what's worked in the last 12 months, figure out why it worked, figure out how to do more of that and do it better. And then if you need to find something new or you want to find something new to do, go and find somebody that has done it and get the information directly from them. Don't go to a trainer, don't go to somebody who's selling stuff. Go and get it directly from them. Find out if it's doable for you. Make sure it's not something that you have to be an outlier to do. And when you find things that are systematic, like ninja selling, for example, if you find things that are systematic that you can hand to anybody and they can do it, those are the things that you want to add in. But don't follow the glossy, fancy stuff that's out there and being promoted, because a lot of it's literally just a waste of time. And if you're unlucky, it can be a very big waste of money. And I've seen a couple of guys that have almost gone bankrupt as a result. So actually,
Wow.
more like 1,000, but
It's so true. It's so true. And like attracts likes. So be careful about, who you are watching outside of it. Maybe like you talked about, like, it could be polished, could look really good, but doesn't always mean that, there's a lot of people out there that sell courses and what have you, and they're not even having half as much success. The fact that, Nolan, you spent this much time with the audience, not asking for anything, just wanting to serve, wanting to show up, picking some things apart, showing us like what we could be doing better, is something that is a testimonial to you, your character, and this is a part of your legacy. So I really appreciate, from the bottom of my heart, you taking this time and going through this process and doing this, because not everyone has this opportunity, without, spending some money, right? Or joining the course or whatever the case may be. And this is an intimate opportunity for someone who's listening and viewing to be able to, like, be in their pajamas on a Saturday night, drinking a glass of wine, being like, all right, now they have their YouTube channel up. They're starting to nerd out on some stuff. And I hope they're going to be a handful, because I'm looking forward to this episode being, I'm going to put the attention out, being our biggest episode yet, and blowing up. And we're going to make sure it's going to be as such, because we're going to take these best practices and techniques, we're going to put them into action, and we're going to let the magic happen.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. I really very much appreciate it. Love what you're doing, and can't wait to see it.
Of course. Well, Nolan, thanks so much. Appreciate you. Go follow him, subscribe to his YouTube channel, see what he's doing, subscribe to his stuff so you can kind of get an idea. I'm sure you also have courses. He has obviously things that he can do to help you as well. So I'm going to plug him myself. Go check that stuff out. And thanks Liftoff Agent for sponsoring the show. Thank you for viewing and listening, as it is our intention for you to take things from our episode, apply to your business, have more massive success. And we'll see you all on the next one.